And welcome back to KTN News Diary. We now cross over live to a sister station, radio station, that's Spice FM, where they are discussing how to end these taxes and the huge debt that the country has. They are currently engaging the former chair, Senate Finance and Budget Committee, Bill Okero, and Dr. Patrick Muinda, who is the economic expert. Let's listen in.
Tomorrow, you will not be surprised, employees in civil servants and others saying, okay, we are going to go on strike because we are not happy with our, our bottom line on our payslip. So I think the government, has ignored the plight in a very simple sense. You watch on TV, people in Turkana, people in parts of this country, eating wild berries because of lack of food. You find people, starving. And it doesn't really prick their conscience at all. And they think everything is normal. And because of lack of jobs, there's no income. There are no jobs.
Are you saying process is the language they don't understand?
I think we must, this country, let me tell you, ultimately, there's nothing the government understands of the day more than pressure out there from the people. From the people, not from other political, from the people themselves.
So long as there are politicians behind what we call mandamano, that's a safety valve. The day the wananchi go on mandamano and there's no political leader leading it or a non-political leader, then you will know things are out of control. Now, these leaders keep talking about leading a country. These fellows are undertakers. What they are doing, they are grave diggers and undertakers. They are overseeing the death of a nation and they're killing it as we watch. Now, we may pretend that that is not so, but that is precisely what is happening. How on earth do you even consider yourself a nation when you are striving as citizens to do the very best you can in terms of your own obligations to the nation, and yet the people you have chosen to superintend and to ensure that these things happen are doing the complete opposite? They are ensuring you starve. They're ensuring your children starve. They're ensuring you don't have basics. They're ensuring the education is expensive and affordable. They're ensuring health isn't available. And where it is, it's very expensive. Everything that they are doing is ensuring that it is out of the reach, not of, it was the conversation of the mwananchi wa kawaida. No. They are making sure gradually the downtrodden mwananchi whom we refer to already was not state. This class called the middle class are joining that group of citizens, and they're joining them fast. If you see this progression, nobody will be left out. Yeah. That's why I'm saying these are undertakers. These are not people who are actually helping build the nation. They're overseeing the death of it. And they are the ones who are prescribing the pills with which we can carry on with this euthanasia. And euthanasia is what we're doing when we keep quiet and we watch them doing. Somebody's killing you slowly and you're watching.
Yeah, I think there are laws we can never change. And these are some of the laws we call the laws of natural justice. Now, one of the primary laws of natural justice in economics is the law of self-preservation. And even the laws of the land accept self-preservation. Now, self-preservation means the moment I'm pushed to the wall, the primary duty is to preserve myself.
Right.
And as a person, I also have responsibilities for my family. So the moment you are pushed to that level where you need to fight for your preservation, that is the bottom of the pyramid. That's the bottom of the bottom. Now, if you're being pushed to the bottom of the bottom, everybody is capable of raising up. And that's what I'm saying, to be a very big mistake to assume Kenyans can do nothing. It's not true. Because economic deprivation can trigger anything in any human being.
Yeah,
we can turn into wild animals. So when you're proposing taxes, and this is what I've been saying, when you propose these taxes, we're assuming these guys are not capable of thinking. They are not capable of feeling the pain. They are not capable of reasoning. That's what the tax policy seems to be suggesting. Because today you introduce this one, next time you introduce this one, next time you introduce this one, next time you introduce this one. It's like these guys are completely helpless. But what you're pushing them is to the point of self-preservation. Self-preservation means I have to raise up and fight for my rights. Now, what is the question of living in a country where my children cannot be guaranteed our future? Okay? Because at that point, I start now looking at why don't I, and this is what generation after generation do. When you look at our ancestors who are fighting for independence, they were saying, let us die so that our future
children can
generations
live. Yeah.
In multi-party democracy, it was about let's die so that people can get rights. Now we are coming to economic rights. And that's where the catch is. So the moment I'm not able to survive in this country and I can't see a future for my children, I'll have to raise up.
Absolutely.
Because at that point,
leave.
Yes. If that becomes necessary, we are going to do it. Now look at what happened in Ukraine when there was that invasion. People left jobs. They were judges, they were lawyers, they did everything. They said, let's go. You see, economic deprivation will push us to that point.
Is that where it's going, Billo? Because I'm going to bring in something here. That when these voices start to get loud, at whatever level, on whatever platform, whether it's face to face, whether it's on social media, which is a mode for a lot of this engagement today, right? Whether it's people complaining, whether it's the videos that we see of horrendous things happening to people, that when we hear this, the rebuttal that we often, and that we've gotten, and I've heard it quite a number of times from agents of government, whether it's from the deputy president, from the president himself, and they say, give us, and even cabinet ministers, they say, give us time. What has happened is that there has been essentially a raping of the economy by the previous administration. It's been said. And what we are trying to do right now is to catch up, to fill in the holes that was left by the previous administration. The blame has been laid time and time and time again. If we want to look at this thing properly, through unfoiled eyes, can that really be a reasoning for what is happening today?
Yeah, our government has, this particular administration has chosen to either engage in, the review mirror all the time, or to live in the future, saying, the future is good. They actually use some word nowadays. They say this is the Shakahola effect. You suffer the pain now,
but you're going to heaven.
You're going to heaven. But the reality is, the government, they say that you reap what you sow. If what you are doing now, that policy, we can see it's not going to be effective. We're telling you this policy is bad. It's affecting business, it's affecting incomes. It cannot change into a heaven tomorrow. So to tell us that give us time is misleading. That's what politics is all about. It's about buying time. They're asking, that it's about living one day at a time. They want to know that tomorrow they'll be there. So for me, I think the issue is the government knows it's misleading you. They know. That's why they're just buying time. Give us more, another year. Next year they'll tell you, give us another. That's why the inconsistencies in all their policies, inconsistencies in the statements that they make. What they say today, next month they say, no, sorry, that was not right. Last year, this year, there are different statements every time. So I think it's because they have gotten used to us. This is a gullible public. They have always gotten away with it. From all the regimes that we have had in this country, you do whatever you want to do and you get away with it. There are no consequences. It doesn't, in all our countries, starting from all the way, the Rwandans and Uganda and everybody here, all the countries, Ethiopia, everyone, there's no country where governments have not paid a price for some of the policies that they have made. And there has been consequences for those decisions. I think the reality is that government needs to be aware that circumstances have changed significantly. It's not what we were seeing about 10 years ago or 20 years ago. People are finding it extremely difficult, and people can do things that you don't expect. And we saw how the Arab Spring started with just one person burning himself up because of frustration, and it snowballed into so many other countries. You've seen what has happened in countries where the policies have, government did not take their financial policies seriously, like, in Zambia, in Sri Lanka, and they keep telling us things have stabilized, we are in control. They're not in control. There's nothing that has stabilized. The reality is that we are in a debt trap, and the situation is going to get worse because, one, of the forex, and two, because the interest rates for the loans are also going up by the day. They are now borrowing at 16 this morning. So the situation is going to get worse. And so what they need to do is really, look, there are countries poorer than us, but people live better.
Yes.
Go here to Ethiopia. They don't tax basic foods. Complete. That's their policy, because they go all the way to Egypt, all these countries, Sudan. They were in the government's policy has always been that if it is food, let people get food. Because the most fundamental right that people have is really access to their survival. Survival.
That class.
Yeah.
Where they were being taught this. This unit that was being taught, the leadership unit.
Do whatever else you want to do, but let your people eat first. That is the most important. Let people get food on the table. You can then talk about other things, SGRs and KBCs and other things, but let people get food. And for heaven's sake, let us have a situation where the shilling counts as a shilling. Because these poor countries, the amount of money those countries spend on government, is so, you have to be shocked. Government ministers or MPs are being paid so low. Ethiopia now is one of the largest economies, bigger than us now. But go and see how people are being paid.
And Tanzania is soon going to overtake us.
Yes, go and see the terms, how people are paid. It's because the cost of living is affordable. Nobody is complaining. People are paid $100, $200, $300. Here, people, you are getting a lot of money, you can't survive. Everything is because of.
Can I ask the two of you a question? Because you're both economists and you both understand financial matters. There's a country whose problems mirror ours almost identically, Ghana. What do you think would happen in this country when everything that we seem to take pride in, for instance, our shilling is already doing the thing. It does more of the thing, but these government bonds that we keep talking about as being a safe bet for the banks, what happens when they receive the same value and treatment as the ones in Ghana, where you lose the value, whatever it is that was due to you is suspended, so you can no longer realize it. So essentially, if you had 100 million shillings and you put it, first of all, that particular value is halved. Then the interest is given a very poor rating. So essentially, you become poor overnight as you watch.
Yeah.
And if indeed that was your pension, or if the money was borrowed from the pension funds, the fate will be the same. So in one fell swoop, you have a situation where any nest egg that you thought you had is gone. And it's gone because of these policies.
You see the painful
in Lebanon. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you see the the painful thing that happened in Ghana is you see, you can play around with numbers and what you report to us, okay, but the economy itself will always be true.
It has its own story to tell.
Yes. So Ghana got to the point where they accepted the pain and they realized we have to take this painful path, and they went to the citizen and told them, we are cornered. We need to get out of here. And the only way to get out of here is this. Now, for a country to get to that level, at political level, it can have serious consequences.
At that level, or are they forced by circumstances? And those who had given them money told them, this is the situation and this is what you're going to tell your people.
Yes. You see, for us, we are actually almost ending there, because that's what the numbers are telling us.
How far away are we really?
I can't say it's next 3 months or 4 months, but we are definitely, if the spending spree does not stop, we are heading there, definitely. Because tell me, this year, where are we going to get another almost 1.5 trillion to load on top of debt? Where are we going to get it? Where are we going to get another 1.7 trillion to load on top of debt?
That's this year. And you can even ask yourself questions from December until June, because Eurobond falls due in June 2024. No, honestly speaking, I really want to know, if you're looking at it and you want to look at where is the money going to come from? $2 billion is 250 billion shillings.
Yeah, you see, we need to see the indicators.
300 billion.
Yeah. We need to see
where
the
is
indicators.
it going to come from?
You see, this thing about petrol, we were told about G2G, whatever. We were told we are going to pay fuel in Kenya shillings so that we can. It has now turned out to be hot here, because I'm saying we cannot write our own rules of economics. There's no way you can go to Saudi Arabia or Middle East and buy fuel in Kenya shillings. Kenya shillings dies outside Kenyan borders. The international currency of trade
is the USD.
Is the USD. That is the economic reality.
Well,
now,
is it the fault of those who spun this tall yarn, or is it our fault for believing even the most blatant of lies?
But those lies will come up will eventually catch up with us as they have caught up with us.
Yes.
Like that one was a few months ago. Yes. Remember, we also told that the dollar is going to drop to 120 back to 111
by
in a
next
few
week,
months.
which was 2 months ago.
Where is it now?
I actually wondered why they left it at 120. Why didn't they say it's going to drop to 60? Something of that sort. I mean,
Once say to drop to 80.
yeah, I mean, if we're just talking numbers,
We might as well just add
you
some more.
just yes.
You see, the point is, even if we are calling them political rhetoric, they have to have a limit. Now, in public, you can make those statements, but inward, in the boardroom, you have to be brutally honest with yourself.
Is it possible for the kind of talk that we see that happens in a public arena to be different from what happens in private?
Right now, we know it's not private. There's no difference.
Yeah.
What they say in public, as per the way they are behaving.
Private meaning
they
in the
actually-
boardrooms of the executive,
Yes.
the government.
Yes.
No, in the boardrooms of government, the discussions are not what we're having. There is no dynamism in a cabinet meeting. You cannot come and start saying, I question. It's not like this policy is put on the table for cabinet and every one of you now ventilates on it and says, sorry, I think as the minister for this policy is nonsense. It's going to create this problem or that way. You can't. You'll be shown the door. So what they will do is you will table yours and all of us will raise our hands. The boss will say that one is passed. You will table yours, the one you call. Everyone has one cabinet paper that he wants to table. But there is no dynamism in our governments. That's where the challenge is. Not in other, what you see on movies where, somebody in government say, no, this is not acceptable. And you are allowed, they tolerate, the leadership tolerates that kind of thing. No, I don't think so. And so what is happening is, in fact, the challenge we have now in governance is even worse. The government works best when the technical people out there in the ministries and state agencies are the ones that come up with positions on with policies and so forth. It gets discussed and comes up.
They are the experts.
They are the experts. Those technocrats. And then it comes up to cabinet level. Then the cabinet discusses. Then it goes to the president, and then he can now say, we are going to do this going forward. But we are seeing is the opposite. It's top down. A decision has just been made. We are going to do this. That's why you don't see these things getting implemented or these things coming, you don't see them coming to fruition. It's because these things are simply being made on the roadsides. And for example, my challenge has always been, this government can help save the situation if they can cut down on the expenditure. Let us rationalize our expenditure as government and learn to live simple so that we can then cut down on this. For example, the president or a vice president, deputy president or someone is going to open a borehole, just to launch the opening of a borehole in Muranga. It's probably costed 5 million. The amount of money that is going to be spent by that executive traveling there is hundreds of millions on that day.
It's more than the 5 million.
I'm telling you, and it's happening.
A borehole that costs 5 million.
And it's happening daily. And in the developed world, if the president or a senior government wants to communicate something, he does it on the media. I mean, the message can get across to the people wherever they are. You don't have to go on the road to try and explain to Kenyans. You are on the road, and this thing is costing money. There are many ways in which this government can rationalize. I'm just taking that as an example. But if you are conscious that your actions are hurting the economy, your actions are the only language. The sad thing is, when you're elected as a member of parliament, and you need to know this.
And you would know this because you have been a member of parliament, yes.
When you are elected from one of those remote little towns in Kiambu or in Kakamega or Mandera or wherever, and you have not been in business, you don't know these things, and you have now become the member of parliament.
Yes.
You are the one now to decide on these policies that come in the budget.
Yes.
Some of these guys so you have no idea that there's someone called, Spice FM that is going to do a business.
Yeah.
They have to get adverts, they have to earn some income and raise money to pay taxes. But I'll simply come and say, okay, business, we should pay more taxes. Why don't we increase the VAT to 18? And why don't
After all, we can get it from here.
tax, what do you call it, that one, for the creation of content? This digital.
Digital, yeah.
So you ask for these things, but you haven't got any idea what business is. You have never been in a commercial environment. You have never been in a manufacturing environment. You have not been in, so you have no idea how this is the dynamics involved in generating incomes, and people have to pay and so forth. And you say, we want to increase the amount of money that will go for travel to this ministry. you don't know how that money is going to be raised and how difficult it is. So you say, we have increased. I'm the one who is in the budget committee. The ministry has bought, is my friend, the minister. Yes, you know, travel here to Nikidogo. We want to increase it by 2 billion. You know, you say, no, we must increase for that ministry. And you increase it, and you have no idea. The challenge you have is people don't really appreciate their responsibilities. And this is because you are there courtesy of political expediency. You have been put there by the powers that be, and really you don't mind.
You know, as we talk right now, nobody knows what better is. Better is not anywhere documented as a plan. So this 1 year down the line, so if today I ask you where is the document, where is the plan, what is setting the agenda, you can't find any document anywhere. When you talk about better, you are told, look for the manifesto. Okay? Vision 2030 as MTPs, we were supposed to be doing MTP4. The year has ended. It has never been approved. So you're not on Vision 2030, you're not on Big 4, and better is not documented anywhere. So that tells you what we are seeing around, and the documents that are being put in budget and the plans that are being put in budget, they're just ideas in people's mind. So there's no way of directing the government resources and priorities through a common document that is accountable and where you can make reference. So people are just waking up and deciding what to do.
I'm almost scared to ask that. Should we even be looking at a global scale about how Kenya then can be competitive outward, externally, globally, which is, look, a lot of the money that's being spent is to do just that, isn't it? Kenya is having conversations with different countries around the world in different fora. We just came out of UNGA, for example, Haiti, this, that, the other thing. Should you have any business talking about other things on such a grandiose scale when your people are hungry? If we're looking at it from an economic point of view, should we?
Yes, actually you should. You should.
I can. The sarcasm is dripping already before you say anything.
You should. In all sincerity, you should, because if running your country is proving to be difficult,
I told you. Please,
then you have the freedom to tell other people how they ought to do things. But better still, look for these oppressors who are called the G7 or people who are former colonialists and tell them where to get off. That is simpler because you're just speaking. The nitty-gritty and the nuts and bolts of ensuring that your citizenry are protected from the harm that must and will and continues to come to them is a far more difficult task. Far more difficult task.
You know, the two things about the global aspect, which is very important, is when the environment for business is not conducive because of corruption, because of high taxes, because of the value of the shilling, or whatever it is, you cannot attract investors. That's a very important thing, because the rest of the world is competing over attracting businesses and investments to them countries. So you can go around and make as many trips as you can, but if you don't write the environment there, the business environment there to be conducive, you are not adding value. Two, out there we used to be a regional powerhouse in terms of production. We were exporting to all these regional countries. Everything from toothpaste to bread they're eating was coming from Kenya. Today, when you go to Uganda, Tanzania border, it's more vehicles coming the other way. Because we are now a net importer as a nation because of what? Lack of competitiveness. What the government should appreciate is that the more you tax people, the more you increase levies, the more you make things difficult, the more it's difficult for companies to be competitive. Our products will become very expensive. We cannot export. If you don't export, the shilling will continue getting worse because there are no foreign exchange. So I don't know why the government does not look at that aspect of, when you have reached a point where your key institutions in private sector are not important to you. You don't want to meet with Kenya national manufacturers. You don't want to meet with KEPSAs. You don't want to meet with businessmen. You are focusing. You decide your policies up there, and you think you know everything. I think we are making the wrong things. But going out there, like he says, to the rest of the world, and you want to show that you are very Kenyans. I was watching when recently in the US, our leader was saying, we are just like you Americans. We are very resourceful. We have everything. Oh yes, we are We just happen to be in Africa, but we are very. I think we
Just
have
like
to
you.
appreciate that we are in a difficult circumstance. And I keep telling government officers, please look beyond Nairobi. Don't look at the skyscrapers. Go out
Right.
to Kiambu.
And
You
see
find
what
the situation. Your people are you're a third world country. They have no lights, electricity. They have no water. They have a third, more than 40% don't have toilets. They use the bush. You are being told people are not able to go to hospitals. People have no food.
So that's the problem.
46% of the people are living on less than $1 a day. You want to talk about environment and carbon taxes, and you are living in another world.
Yeah.
No, I think we need to come down to earth.
Patrick,
I
in
think my
30 seconds,
summary-
your summary, yes.
Yeah, my summary is that I think we should not imagine we can export our bad manners out there. Now, at the end of the day, if I'm out of this country and I'll need to make an investment decision here, I'll be very pragmatic and I'll go beyond what the public officers are telling me. If I'm doing an investment analysis, I'll look at the tax environment, I'll look at the policies of the government, and I'll look at how accountable the administration is because of the political risks.
Right.
So we cannot assume that diplomatically when you appear out there, people treat you well. Okay? But it doesn't mean they'll make the decision based on how they treated you because of diplomatic engagement. There's the diplomatic protocol of geoeconomic engagements. But that is not what dictates the actual investment decisions that the owners of capital make. They will eventually make about the domestic realities.
And you have to look at those.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, Bill Okero, Dr. Patrick Mwinde, thank you so much for being here this morning. It's a conversation that we have that cannot stop till something is done. Asante for being guests for the last 2 hours. It's been quite a ride, but it's been fantastic having you here, and we keep talking. Thanks, folks. Tomorrow we talk again. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.